What if direct bookings could transform your short-term rental business and give you total control over the guest experience?
It's really important for you to be your own boss of your short-term rental business. And when you rely too heavily on Airbnb, for example, you're really at the mercy of their policies, their fees. If you get suspended, then you lose a really significant portion of your revenue, and that has a massive impact on your business.
What do Apple Pay, trust building reviews, and customizable promo codes have in common? They're all part of Hospitable's direct booking toolkit.
Hosts invest so much of their time growing their brand, providing a really excellent experience for your guests, and you really deserve to have that customer loyalty go to you.
Today we're speaking with Abby Grous. She's the Senior Product Manager of Direct at Hospitable. We're learning how a platform like Hospitable simplifies payments, guest verifications, and everything related to direct bookings for short-term rental hosts.
We're really focused on ways to increase direct bookings and conversions at all points in the funnel. So how can we get more people when they're on your direct bookings website to convert to actually completing your direct booking?
My name is Jason Muth. I'm a 30-time Airbnb superhost. I worked in the media business for over 25 years, and in 2016, we started building our Chapter 2 through short-term rentals. Since then, we've welcomed over 5,000 guests and their furry friends to our homes. And today, we are here to show you how to create a smart stay. Now, here's Abby. All right, so Rory, do you know how long we've been using Hospitable?
I think a little over 2 years now, right?
Little over 2 years, yes. And one would think that it was because of the short-term rental secrets mastermind I talk about a lot on here, but we were investigating Hospitable even before that, even before we kind of knew what we were doing, that we needed to build a tech stack and we needed a property management software, and we wanted to get smarter with everything that we were doing. So we launched the Hospitable a couple of years ago. I say this because we have somebody from Hospitable on this episode of the podcast. We're going to talk all about direct bookings and how Hospitable could really help with those. They have taken a number of our direct bookings, and we're really grateful for Hospitable and how it's helped us grow our business. I want to introduce Abby Grous. Abby is in charge of direct bookings, direct booking product at Hospitable. Did I get the title? What's your title?
That's
Senior
right.
Product
I
Manager.
lead.
Yes. Senior Product Manager of
Exactly.
Direct. Everyone's got fancy titles in this business, but you're the one that's in charge of making sure that like all these direct bookings, work correctly on our direct booking websites and on your website. And, you're growing the product that Hospitable is putting into the market. And I know how important direct bookings are because you guys have emphasized it in every single point of communication I've seen lately.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I do. I lead our product management team or our direct product team at Hospitable. And so what I am doing is finding new ways to bring in direct bookings, to make direct booking easier, to make it easier for that to become a significant portion of our customers' short-term rental business. So yeah.
So before we get into like what is direct bookings and why this is something you should consider if you only have no properties, 1, 2, 3 properties, whatever you have, Rory, we could talk a bit about how we've done direct bookings over the years and how Hospitable has helped out there, and then we could figure out what exactly we're not doing correctly by not optimizing the product, I'm sure. But direct bookings when you and I started, Rory, back in like 2016, were like Venmo or cash or a check, maybe. I don't know. I think I've gotten a couple checks over the years.
But, not just the actual management of them, just the booking of them was just done over text message. Hey, do you have these days open? My friends are looking at coming. Would you be able to take them? And there was a series of back and forth. And at that point, it culminated in maybe a Venmo payment. But that was it. No compliance work, no marketing, nothing to streamline the booking process for the guest.
Yeah, I will say when we installed Hospitable a couple years ago, we did it really just to integrate calendars and just start to, put on our big boy and big girl pants in short-term rental space and realize that there was an easy way to do the channel management using the Hospitable software. And we picked it, just the user interface was great. There's other ones that are out there that are really good, but we're familiar with Hospitable. So that's what we speak of on this podcast, which is not to disparage any of the platforms that are out there. Hospitable introduced direct booking before you started, Abby, I believe. I think it was probably a year and a half ago is
Mhm.
when you had the portfolio that is integrated into your software.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And it was around the same time that we built our direct booking landing pages. We use Market My STR for that. And I realized that Hospitable made it really easy because there's a widget that I could plug right into the website. And that's essentially the booking engine. Hospitable also does have a really pretty direct booking like URL, which I discovered after the fact. Maybe you could talk about that as well. But I saw somebody else's, and I was like, "Oh, how'd you build this? This website?" They're like, "It's the website they give you at Hospitable." I was like, "I didn't know that." So we did that, and since then we have taken a number of direct bookings using Hospitable as, I guess you'd be the merchant of record, but you can kind of tell me if that's true or not. And Hospitable has handled the payments, they've handled the payouts, and they've handled discount codes, which are kind of cool. And they've made it relatively easy for our guests to be able to rebook directly with us. So, why don't you tell us, Abby, a little bit about the Hospitable direct booking product and platform that maybe I didn't touch on right there? And then I want to dig into some of the features. And I also want to talk about why direct booking is important, because so many people in the short-term rental space are talking about direct bookings. And I'm a big fan of Airbnb and Vrbo. Like, they do a great job in getting guests over to our properties, but I also see the value of building a database and booking directly and offering that up to your guests in the future. So with that, tell us a little bit about Hospitable's direct booking product.
Sure. So Hospitable has two different flavors of our direct booking product. So the first is our basic direct offering, which is probably what you would think of when you think of a bookings platform. You're able to set up a direct bookings website. It can either be a Hospitable hosted site. We make it very easy for you to get that website set up in a couple of minutes by pulling in your property details from your OTA listings and just creating that website already for you from that information. Or, as you said, you can set up your own website and embed our widgets to facilitate the booking. Um, and so the basic offering is just that, the website, and then it's also hooked up to Stripe. So you hook up a payment processor and you kind of would manage everything else yourself. So that's one option. And then the other option, which actually more than 75% of our hosts go for this option, that sounds like you do too,
We
is
do.
our
Yep.
direct
We're there.
premium offering. And in that model, Hospitable kind of helps to take on some of the risk that you take when you start doing direct bookings. Um, and you're taking on that risk kind of in turn for getting some more control over your business. So when you are working within OTAs, you get the protection of the OTA. With direct, you have more control, but you lose some of the protection. And so with direct premium, we help fill the gaps there by being the merchant of record. So we're taking on payments, we're taking on chargebacks for you. We're also handling guest vetting and ID verification. And we are also handling taxes. And I can talk a lot more about how those features work and how we do it. But that's kind of the distinction between direct basic and direct premium and the different flavors that we have of direct at Hospitable.
So I will say, this is when you're kind of switching your business over from mom and pop doing this on the side to actually a proper business where even your friends, your family, your cousins, your people that have stayed there before, you still want them to book. And the reason that they're booking is because they'll appear in your calendar, and then they'll get your cadence of messages. That's one of the big things that Hospitable does, is that we send out automated messages throughout the course of the booking cycle, from when you've booked to if you didn't book, here's another automated message suggesting you still can book, to when you did book, to when you're about to arrive, to right after you arrive, to right after before you're about to leave, to afterward asking for a review. Like, you could put a direct booking in that cadence, or you could have somebody actually do that booking themselves and it appears directly on your Hospitable calendar, and all those messages will go out. Now, Abby, you mentioned something about taxes. We operate in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Taxes are different everywhere across the country. I have noticed that Hospitable will collect the taxes, I believe, but unlike Airbnb and Vrbo, I think the taxes, at least for our states, are remitted to us as hosts. Is it different state to state?
It is. It is our goal to be able to remit and file in more states right now. It is only in select states and jurisdictions, but we are handling for direct premium, we are handling the tax calculations for you, which I think, that alone can be a challenge to make sure that you're collecting the right taxes. There's tens of thousands of jurisdictions within the US that you have to keep up with. What taxes should I be collecting? Does it apply to just my cleaning fee or my nightly stay? Or how does it work? And then, of course, making sure that you're remitting and filing those taxes. So we handle the tax calculation. And then, like I said, remittance in some states, and that number of states is growing.
I should say there was a term you were using earlier, also OTA, which has come up before. It's an online travel agency, which is essentially Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, all those types of things. And some people just don't know the OTA term, so I wanted to define that. Rory, you would love it if Hospitable remitted the taxes because you're the one that remits our taxes to the state.
Yeah, it's just one extra chore that you have to do every month. Check our amounts to make sure that they're correct, transmit them correctly, and it would be a great thing to get off our plate. However, New Hampshire actually requires us to file every month, even if all of our bookings are through OTAs. We just have to file a $0 return every single month, which is a little bit of a nuisance. But every state's going to be different with what they require.
Yeah. Actually,
Yep.
Massachusetts makes us file as well, but Massachusetts, unlike New Hampshire, doesn't penalize us when we forget to do it. Like, sometimes it'll be like 3 months where I'm like, I didn't take any direct bookings, so I'll say 0. New Hampshire, if we forget to file, they actually penalize us. So I'm like, wait a second, we had no direct bookings. I don't owe you anything because Airbnb, Vrbo paid you all the taxes, but you're still gonna penalize me for doing that. So that's a whole separate conversation. So the direct bookings, like, let's just take one more step back. Also, like, Abby, why are direct bookings important for people that run short-term rentals?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is, well, the most obvious is value, right? If you're going direct, that means you don't have to pay commission to the Airbnbs, VRBOs. And so that one's obvious. And then you can also pass that cost savings along to your guests to make it an attractive way for them to book as well. And I think, but the other two things I think that are important is that you get back control. So it's really important for you to be your own boss of your short-term rental business. And when you rely too heavily on Airbnb, for example, you're really at the mercy of their policies, their fees. If you get suspended, then you lose a really significant portion of your revenue, and that has a massive impact on your business. So getting back some of the control. And then the final thing is brand recognition and relationship with your guests. I think that hosts invest so much of their time growing their brand, providing a really excellent experience for your guests. And you really deserve to have that customer loyalty go to you, instead of the booking platform. So you get to reap the returns of all of the investment you put into the guest experience by getting those guests to come back through you. They're booking through you directly.
So one thing that I do think is missing with the direct booking process, and maybe I didn't find it, or maybe it's on your product roadmap. And by the way, the Hospitable product roadmap, I don't even want to see it. It must just be rooms big. I mean, it's always funny whenever I am chatting with, tech support, and I bring something up that maybe the system doesn't do, they add it and they thumb it up for me onto the product roadmap, and hopefully other people will see it as a feature that they want to add. But Hospitable is always adding features onto the platform. Reviews. Are there any reviews with direct booking? Like, because I mean, there's no. What are you reviewing, right? Where does their review go if indeed there is a way to review somebody from a direct booking?
Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely something that is on our radar for being able to accept reviews from your guests so that you own that review and you can show it on your direct website, one. And then also it's helpful for us to get reviews on guests. So you're able to see, I think a lot of people rely on the ratings of guests when they're looking at like Airbnb, for example, and whether or not to accept a booking. That part is missing a little bit without being able with direct. And so we're definitely looking at ways that we can do reviews both ways. So guests reviewing their direct booking experience as well as you reviewing the guest and then making that information available to our all across our customers. One thing that is important as well and new for us on for our hospitable direct sites are being able to show your existing reviews on your direct site. So we recently we started pulling in Airbnb reviews. So now I was actually checking on your direct websites earlier, and
Ours?
yes, yep. I saw two 5-star, we're showing two 5-star reviews on your hospitable site, recent reviews from Airbnb, and those are getting pulled in automatically. And so that helps to be able to show reviews that you already have from other channels and also helps establish trust with prospective guests, which is so important in direct booking. So getting those reviews on your site, even if it's coming outside of from other channels, I think is important too.
That is super cool. I didn't even know that was happening. So that's on the Hospitable direct site, right? Not where I have the widget plugged into, which is a different landing page, right? It would just be on, I shouldn't say just, but it would be on that. So I got to check that out afterward.
Yeah, it would be on your direct on your hospitable site. Maybe that's something that we'll make available as like a widget that you can put on a custom site to pull in your reviews. But for now, it's on your hospitable site.
Could I add to your product roadmap? Like, is there a way? I'm sorry. I'm like, Rory, I have it right here, right? Like, we're talking direct bookings. Like, she's in charge of them. Like, let's get this up there. Can people give us a Google review or a Facebook review or something like that? Like, is there a way that maybe instead of them reviewing the property or the way the review would get posted, it would get posted onto our Google business profile?
Yep, that was as soon as we announced that we had reviews on direct sites, that was like one of the first questions that we got. So yep, that's something that we'll be looking at as well.
See, that was it. That was a good question, Rory.
It was.
I mean, as you're pulling in data from these OTAs to, to pull in the listing data, to pull in the reviews, do you ever get resistance from them? Do they try to throw up API roadblocks so that the data you're pulling in gets blocked and that you have to constantly stay one step ahead of the OTAs?
I think that was definitely that's definitely a concern for us. It was a concern for reviews specifically. Um, but we kind of made the decision that the review that intellectual property actually belongs to like the host and the guest that posted the review. And so we're kind of taking the the risk there, I guess. We are attributing the review to the originating platform, so to Airbnb, and linking to the Airbnb listing, which I think helps legitimize the review so that somebody knows that, oh, you didn't just like put up fake reviews on your direct booking website. You can actually go to Airbnb and see those reviews. And then it also, I think, helps with the risk there to show that that review came from that channel.
So, if I understand this correctly, one thing I like about having Hospitable do my direct bookings is getting indexed on Google, right? Because Google Vacation Rentals, I believe, it's not as huge as Airbnb, but I believe I've had some people that have, this is the guest doing it. They find us on Airbnb, they go searching on the internet afterward, and then they come to the direct booking site that I have through Hospitable that maybe is getting indexed through Google. And I've gotten a couple bookings in that manner. Does that sound like a pretty standard um, user experience for a cunning guest that might be looking to save 10, 15%?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing more guests get savvy like that now. They're used to direct bookings a little more often, and so they are taking that extra step to go do a Google search and try to find you directly instead of booking through Airbnb. Um, so that's one way. Another way that we help distribute your direct listings is through Google Vacation Rentals. So that is more of like a meta search engine where a guest can go plug in their dates, the area that they're looking to stay, and find hotels, short-term rentals across all of the different channels. So I think Booking.com, you'll see your listings there, and then you'd also see your Hospitable listing. So that's another way that we can help bring direct bookings to you. And we're trying to explore other channels for distribution. So more ways that people can find you. There's a couple of other different platforms out there. Um, for example, I think Furnish Finder is one of them. It's more popular in the midterm rental space. But that's another way of getting your listings out there aside of just doing a Google search and relying on SEO to bring up your listings is finding other distribution channels for specifically for direct bookings.
Sorry about that. I had the microphone off. So let's talk a little bit about ways to get direct bookings. What suggestions do you have? Because I've been very cognizant of the terms of service of Airbnb and Verbo, and there's some roadblocks they put in your way, like where if somebody hasn't booked yet, they physically block things that look like phone numbers, URLs, email addresses. And then there's the somebody has booked with you. And granted, you only know the booker. You don't know everyone else who's staying there, but you know the booker. And it's any language that you might use in there that might be against their terms of service. So, as somebody that maybe only has a handful of properties, if that, what are some recommendations that you have that would help them increase the number of direct bookings that they might be able to get?
Yeah, so I think that a really key thing is to try to capture an email address from your guest. You won't necessarily get that email from Airbnb, so when you have them coming in, capture their email when you're confirming their booking or before their stay. There's also different platforms out there that you can use to do that. It's like StayFi. You can capture emails through your Wi-Fi. That's another great way. And that way you're kind of compiling your list of customers that you can then do outbound marketing to encourage them to come back and book direct. So email is a great one. Another one that I hear people talking about all the time is actually in your property. Either you have like a magnet on the fridge that tells the guest to book direct and maybe gives them a promo code to come back and book with you directly. Or you have like a little brochure or something in your welcome package. Things like that, where it's kind of like offline ways of encouraging guests to come back and find you through direct bookings. And so I think those are more for guests who are returning to you after booking through Airbnb, for example. But we are also seeing some of our customers be really successful at this, getting new guests to book direct, especially with social media, Instagram, TikTok. One of our customers, she operates a Taylor Swift themed home in Arizona. And so, if there's a group of girls looking to book a bachelorette trip, they might be looking on social media, TikTok, something comes up for them, or maybe somebody's looking to book their daughter's birthday party. They find this property that is so unique, and something they're really excited about on social media, and then they're able to book direct and drive bookings through their direct channel that way. So I think there's ways you can do it to bring returning guests back, and then use social media to bring new guests through direct as well.
So I think Rory and I have a lot of friends that actually might want to book that Taylor Swift house. They might be male, though. They're not female. And Rory would not be one of them based on his dislike of Taylor, but that's just on
Oh
his.
no.
I know, I know. Hey, I'm not a Swiftie, but I certainly don't hate on Taylor Swift. So what's next up for direct bookings with Hospitable? This has been a year or so into you guys having this engine. I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way that is informing the product roadmap for what's to come in future years. So what else can we expect as hosts that utilize you for direct bookings as ways to increase the number of direct bookings that we have to make it easier for people to book directly? What else is forthcoming?
Yeah, so we're really focused on ways to increase direct bookings and conversions at all points in the funnel. So, how can we get more people when they're on your direct bookings website to convert to actually completing your direct booking? Ways that we are working on that is, like I mentioned, reviews on sites and adding other trust building content to our hospitable sites beyond that. So, like, for example, having an about us or about the host page on your website, of course, really helps, make the guests feel comfortable, realize you're a real person, and help get convince them to complete their booking. So adding more of that trust building content to our sites. And then once the guest is actually within the booking flow, so they've decided, okay, I want to book here, how can we get them to finish that booking? And we've done that by recently we added additional payment methods. So we added Apple Pay and Google Pay as a payment method for our direct booking flow, which is great. I don't know if about you guys, but for me, if like Apple Pay is supported, and it's kind of deadly for me when I'm online shopping because it's so easy to just like complete your payment using Apple Pay. So that is helping with conversions. We also recently implemented a retargeting campaign for guests that fall out of the booking flow. So it's actually really common, especially within travel and well, within e-commerce, but within travel specifically, that guests will fall out and not finish that booking. So we've started to experiment with we capture the email at the beginning of the booking. And so we are sending retargeting emails to the guests if they don't complete their booking to try to encourage them to come back and complete the booking. And we've seen pretty good success with that with just some really basic, hey, your dates are still available type emails. And we're looking at taking that a bit further by being a little bit smarter about it, emphasizing things like we also support payment terms. So you don't, as a guest, you don't need to pay for your entire booking up front. You can pay for it over time. So we're trying to do things to help emphasize that or provide a promo code to convince guests to return and complete their booking. So that's something that we're doing as well, just to help with conversions in getting more direct bookings. Um, we are also going to be turning our attention to midterm rentals a little bit more. Um, we are one of the big things there is being able to help collect payments monthly instead of all before the booking, as well as again adding other payment methods. So you can have your guests pay by bank, so you don't need to pay the credit card processing fees, which are expensive on a big booking like a midterm booking. So that's something that we're looking at as well. And then something that we're currently working on is other ways to help vet guests and protect you in from damages and from bad guests. So we've been working on rental agreements there in beta for our direct platform, and we're bringing them actually to all bookings, so not beyond just direct. And then we're also looking at helping facilitate security deposits too, if you want to collect a security deposit to help protect you or encourage guests to take care of your property. That's another thing that we're looking at as well.
So, I mean, for those of our listeners out there who've never taken direct bookings before, if you just kind of heard all that comment there, you're pretty much attacking every point of anxiety for somebody who's considering doing a direct booking and making it relatively easy. You're almost like a payroll provider um, for for property stays, where you handle a lot of the paperwork and the things that really might just scare people into sticking only with the OTAs.
Yeah, that's the goal is we want to be able to take away some of the risk that comes along with direct bookings and handle that for you, so that you as a host can focus on the things that you're really good at, like developing an excellent brand, an excellent experience for your guests. And so that is exactly our goal, in our approach to direct bookings at Hospitable.
If you can get it down, so in like Shopify stores, if you start writing your email address in and then somehow you get a magic code to your phone where it automatically knows who you are, and all you have to put that in is a 6-digit code, and all your payment info is on the screen. It's so tempting to just, I every time I do that, like I buy whatever I'm looking at because there it is. It made it so easy. Boy, that would be super awesome for us to improve the conversion of people that are kicking the tires.
You know what? It's like you know exactly what we're up to over here. That is another thing we're looking at too, is like how to improve the experience for returning guests, so that they can have like an express checkout experience, and then also we can do things like skipping guest verification if they're one of your returning guests. There's no need to have them go through that every time they book. So yeah.
The one I do like the codes also, like being able to give discount codes.
Mhm.
So part of our business is co-hosting, and part of it is owned and operated properties that we own. But I kind of sell to the owners that we will do a direct booking website, powered by Hospitable, and you could set up whatever direct or whatever codes you'd like for friends and family, and we could make them available to all the properties, to specific properties. You can give them fun, fancy names if you'd like to, and it works great. Like I've tested it out, and sure enough, like the numbers play off. They haven't. I don't think that promotions are part of this though. I know Airbnb does promotions. Like you could, have a range of dates that are 20% off, 30% off. And there's other logic in there. Like if you book 5 nights, maybe you get an extra 15% off. I don't think I have that at Hospitable, because I remember one time I had somebody book direct, but then they found the rate on Airbnb was cheaper because I actually had a promotion that was running through Airbnb that wasn't part of the direct site. So I honored it, obviously. But, that was like one thing where I said, oh, yeah, that's right. Like these promos that I run are directly on Airbnb, but I'm sure that's also on your roadmap too.
Yeah, I think there's room to make the promo codes and promos in general a little bit smarter so that you can run those sorts of promotions and encourage people to book direct.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, guest vetting. You mentioned it briefly. That is the one little hiccup I've ever had with it. I don't know if that's a seamless process just yet with guest verification, but and this could be the age or the lack of technical savvy of the people that are doing it. But for some reason, I've had a couple guests that, for some reason, they just couldn't get through that verification process. And next thing you know, they're texting me pictures of their ID. And I'm like, I don't really know what to do with this. But, the help chat has certainly gotten everything cleared up. But, maybe that's something that you could briefly touch upon, what a guest would have to do to be able to book directly.
Yeah, so the guest vetting process that you mentioned, it for direct premium, before a guest can actually confirm their booking, or before you as a host can confirm their booking, we have them go through a guest vetting process. And what they need to do as part of that process is um, upload a picture of their ID, as well, confirm their information, upload a picture of their ID, and upload a selfie, and then also confirm the purpose of their stay. That helps us find if guests are, coming and having a party at your property, even though you told them that that's not something that is supported. So what we actually partner with AutoHost on our guest vetting feature, and so AutoHost is able to do like barcode analysis on the ID. They're able to use AI to check to make sure that those images weren't doctored. Which is really important, and then also run other checks for fraud to help basically score how risky that booking request is. And if things all look good, then that booking request goes straight to you as a host. If you can also have instant booking on, so if things are completely check, then that booking will just be confirmed automatically. If the booking was flagged for risk, our support team will actually review it, and decide if this booking can be sent to you as the host or not. And so actually, as the host, you have the final say on whether or not you want to accept a booking, based on the outcome of the guest vetting. And the reason why that process is important is it helps us provide damage protection too for direct bookings. So we are essentially underwriting the guests based on the guest vetting process, and we provide up to $5 million in damage protection, um, for your direct bookings. So that way that process is important. We also like to kind of talk about it as like, when you're going to a hotel, you're checking in at a front desk and you're handing someone your ID, and they have their own sort of guest verification process that happens in person. When you're doing everything online, this is just another way of doing that digitally. So we try to think of it more as like a digital check-in and less of a guest vetting process. Um, so that's why it's important. And as I mentioned, I know you said you had some guests that have trouble with it. We're definitely trying to make it a bit easier, provide more insight to the guest on why it's important, and then, like I said, also make it so that guests can skip that step if they are a returning guest of yours as well.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is like some of the people that have booked direct with us are like, neighbors or family members of neighbors. And, you kind of run down this road, you're like, oh, it's simple, just do this, fill this out, and a lot of people I think are just used to doing a deal on the side. Right. Like, oh,
Hmm.
it's my next door neighbor and she needs somewhere for her cousin to stay when she's in town for the holidays, just give them $1,000 and call it a day. But we're running a professional business here. So I think that it comes across that way when we ask people to go through this other level of verification. And, the times that there have been a little bit of a speed bump, which is not every time, but the couple times I could think of, I did say, hey, listen, it has to do with any damage protection that happens in insurance by our payment provider or the merchant of record, which is going to be Hospitable. And we just kind of work through that process. Um, this has been great. I really appreciate all the insight about direct bookings and the roadmap that you're providing, as to what's happening with Hospitable. I think that you guys have done a great job in the time that you have had your direct booking platform available. And, excuse me, we've been with Hospitable for a number of years now, and direct booking is a growing part of our business. And we understand why it's important for everything going on. One last thing I want to, by the way, I'm going to have to put some kind of referral code in this link, right? Because I think I have a referral code on Hospitable. I'm going to hook people up there. Maybe I'll get a little bit of money that
Yeah,
way,
we
right?
have one specifically for listeners of your show too.
Oh,
So,
great. Okay.
yeah, I can share that with you so you can put it in your show notes. But
Perfect.
we'll give your listeners 25% off their first 3 months of Hospitable.
Wow.
So yeah.
And that is nothing to sneeze at. That will buy you a couple dinners for you and your family. So, not that Hospitable is expensive, but hey, any way you can save some money is what we're going to do. Abby, one last question for you. You are relatively new in the world of short-term rentals. You've been a product manager for a while, though, right?
Yes.
So, tell us something that you didn't expect from the short-term rental community, as a newcomer, kind of coming in and seeing a lot of the quirks of these STR people.
Yeah, I guess one thing that has kind of struck me, which is it makes a lot of sense, but I've been really inspired by how passionate people are about this business. And not only as like another stream of income or, a path to financial freedom for some people to actually leave their W-2s and work for themselves, but I've been really kind of inspired by how people just really like being hosts and taking care of their customers, and how much pride they put into the experience they create for their customers, and how much pride they have into building a beautiful direct bookings website. It almost seems like to me that is what people care about even more in a lot of cases, especially if like for, a lot of our hosts who are self-managing owners that have, a growing portfolio of properties, but not a whole lot yet. They're really passionate about providing an amazing experience, connecting with their guests. And so I think that's been really cool. Um, and I connect with that a lot, actually. I don't have a short-term rental right now. My husband and I do own a multifamily long-term rental, and we're hopefully about to close on another one. But I think I have like a newfound interest in owning my own short-term rental, just because I see how passionate people are and how there's just like such a human element to being, a good host.
Yeah, you're hitting all the talking points, and they're all true. And one thing I'll say is Airbnb has a lot of people on the platform. Okay, there are some fantastic hosts. There are a lot of people that have been doing it for a long time. We've been Superhost 30 times, and we have some properties that are highlighted as guest favorites. The people that take the next level and choose to sign up with Hospitable, that's got to be like the top of the top, right? These are the people they know they need a property management software. They know why they need it, because they want to be exactly what you've described as to a better host that actually takes a lot of pride in the hosting. Again, not to say a lot of people on Airbnb don't have that, but if you have one property, you're probably just going to be on Airbnb. I mean, we had for years, 4 or 5 years, Rory, I had the calendars integrated through, import export. And I did all the manual, I don't know, the manual communications, right?
You had a direct link between the two, and then everything else is in a Google spreadsheet.
Yep. And there's a lot of sticky notes everywhere. I got a sticky notepad everywhere I go. So, that's how life used to be. But Hospitable has made life a lot easier. And direct booking certainly is an evolving platform for Hospitable that we're looking forward to continuing with for years to come. Hey, Abby, thank you so much for all the time today to really talk into what is happening on the product side. I know that you have a lot of town halls and a lot of, weekly meetings that I get tons of emails about. I don't participate in all of them, but I do hop on every so often, and it's always nice to see Hospitable really seeing the users of the platform as valued folks that are giving great feedback to make the platform even better. So we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate you as a customer and all of the great feedback that we hear from our customers. That was one of the main reasons I had in joining Hospitable, is there's a true emphasis on building in public and building in partnership with our customers. So it's great to be a part of that.
I probably should have said this earlier, but this was not a paid podcast. Like this all came together, and we just happened to be customers. I kind of even forget how it all came together, but it came together, and I said, by the way, we're great Hospitable users ourselves, so we're looking forward to having you guys on the podcast. So thank you once again for your time today. Thank you, Rory. Thank you for listening or watching, if that's what you're doing. Please subscribe, like the podcast, and tell your friends about it, and give us 5-star reviews. Always ask for the review. This has been the SmartStay Show. Really appreciate your listening, and we'll see you next time.